We'll do as much as possible. We'll do practicals because when we engage you, when we do it practically, people will basically be able to internalize and understand what we are doing. As we continue with that, we'll also be doing a bit of data visualization and also exporting our output. Yeah. So some of them won't really be, it won't be structured that exactly. So we might tamper with our structure here and there. But at the end of the day, we really want us to see what we can do with the data that we have. I know the data sets have been shared. I don't know whether all of us have been able to see the data. The data, someone is also requesting us to share our do files. We can actually do that. But our desire is actually for us to do it together. So you'll create your own do files. Rather than us sharing what we have, we'd rather take you step by step, writing commands so that we get used to that. So why do you usually analyze mental health data? This is what we are speaking about, the purpose of our analysis. We are basically looking at these 4 items, and sometimes we may even have additional items we want to look at. We are interested to see the prevalence, and on the right-hand side, I've given just a small picture that gives us the prevalence of a study population, where they indicated that anxiety was at 18%, depression, and all the different mental health disorders. Yeah. So many a times we want to look at the prevalence in a specific sample or population. Then at times you also want to look at the risk factors, what is predisposing people to mental health. Yeah. Then treatment efficacy, trend over time. And that's what we are going to be mentioning. But this is a blank check. There is still much, much more. And I believe our Dr. Frederick, I think, mentioned about the different things that we may want to look at when we collect data from a sample population. There is so much that we can do with it. So it's upon us to be creative, yeah, and of course follow the laid out procedures to be able to speak about prevalence, speak about risk factors, treatment efficacy. And one interesting thing to note is that even when you are doing data analysis, you don't just do it in the blues. There has to be a context. That's why sometimes you also really need to have done literature, to read as many papers as possible, so that whatever you do is well informed by research. So take me to the next slide. Yeah, thank you so much. So this slide also tells us about the different types of analysis that we can do. Yeah, of course, some are basic, but very fundamental and very important. Then some are a bit complex. Yeah, so there is so much that we can actually do with mental health data. There is so much. We can come up with descriptive analysis to inform policymakers. Like when you are talking about prevalence, you can even inform the policymakers, where do we need to actually direct funds? Yeah, such things really help us. So you can actually do descriptive analysis. You can do correlation analysis to see the risk factors, for example, to see what is actually driving as specific individuals to developing some mental health disorders. We can also do predictive modeling. We are at a time where AI is the in thing. We don't just want to use data to tell us what happened. We also want to use data to predict what might happen, so that even when an individual visits a healthcare facility, they give you the information. You can actually even advise them accordingly, so that they don't end up becoming, or rather developing, some disorders. And that doesn't just apply to mental health. It applies to other healthcare issues. Yeah. So we can also do intervention evaluation. We can do longitudinal analysis. These ones, Actually, some of the types of analysis are a bit complex, so we don't intend to expose you to this. We can just give you the basics for now to expose you and to whet your appetite, to appetize you or to stir up, so that at least you can be able to go do more research, go do more practice. Yeah. Textual analysis, network analysis, some of them can actually not be done with Stata. You should have other tools to enable you to do things like network analysis. However, at the end of the day, there are basic steps that all these types of analysis must follow. Yeah, and we are going to look at that. Thank you so much. Yes. So when it comes to data analysis steps, just as I said earlier on, in as much as you want to do network analysis, longitudinal, all those different types of analysis, predictive modeling, you want to do descriptives, there are things that you must do first and foremost. There are steps that you have to, and this one doesn't apply just in Stata. It doesn't matter whether you are using R or Python or SPSS. These are standard generic steps that you must follow. So the first thing that you must do is to prepare your data. You must make sure that your data is in a state that it can be analyzed. Remember, analysis, you are using computers to do analysis. Computers won't understand text. You must put that data in a format that the computer will understand. So when we are talking about data preparation, it may mean editing the data, handling blank responses. I know handling nulls is a big area. And there are different ways of handling nulls or handling the blank responses. Then you also need to do things like categorization. You need to do data cleaning. So if you have duplicates, for example, you don't want to come up with frequencies and percentages and prevalence values that are really not speaking to the population. Yeah. The other a step that is very important. Like today, we are giving you data sets that you are not exposed to. We are giving you new data. So one of the things after doing cleaning, after doing categorization of your data, you really need to understand the data set that you are given. And we usually do what is called exploratory data analysis, where you actually look at each and every variable. You even understand, what does that question or what does that variable mean? What kind of data was collected using that variable? Was it an open text? Was it numbers? Or is it about categories? You really need to do exploratory data analysis to each and every variable. And we are going to expose you to that even today as we do that. So we want to do exploratory data analysis. You understand your data. You connect. By there, you really need to connect with any data set that you are given. You need to connect with that data that is being collected. I know most of us are engaged with different projects, maybe projects that are looking at mental health. So once that data is collected by the field team, you need to really understand, what does this data, or rather what variables first and foremost were captured? Do we have social demographics? What tool was used to collect this data? Because that one will also inform the kind of analysis that you are going to do. Daniel, you'll keep don't move, but please, you'll keep on checking the chat in case there is any arising issue. Then we have, once you connect with your data set or with your resource, which is very important. Data is a resource. People say that it's the new oil. Once you connect with that, then you can actually go ahead and do data analysis. And remember, there are many types of analysis that you can do. That's why at your level, you really need to understand the different kinds of analysis, and the different kinds of analysis are actually informed by the type of data that you have. Yeah, there are some that are quite common and can actually apply at all levels. When we are talking about univariate, looking at single variables, that one you can actually do it Yeah, you doing bivariate analysis, cross tabulations, multivariate, all that. We are actually going to look at that. Then the other step that is very, very important, remember when you are doing data analysis, you as a statistician or as a data scientist or a computer scientist, you can actually be presented with these commands. You will run them and you'll be able to understand your output. You'll be able to understand what these tables are, what they are trying to present to us. You'll be able to understand that. But remember, we usually do data analysis to be able to make sense of the data so that you can present it to maybe policymakers, to the community in a way that is so easy for them to understand. It is your work to do the hard work. It's your work to really work with the numbers, but the community won't understand. If you give them percentages, they don't know what percentages mean. They don't know what that means. So you really need to present it in a way that they'll be able to understand in the simplest way possible. That the percentages you are telling me, it means that a third of the population or a third of our village are having this issue. They are grappling with this issue. When you go to the policymakers, they also won't understand some figures. When you are telling them of statistical significance and the like, they won't understand. They really need you to put the message to them in a way that they can understand. So it's quite an important step. That is data presentation and also interpretation, and then things to do with discussions and recommendations. So these are generic steps that you need to go through as you do the analysis. Yeah. Next, done. So these are just basically some of the things that we'll be looking at. And I don't intend to really theorize this because we'll do it practically and even the next step, right? So allow us to, I don't know whether people have been able to access our data sets. I can see Muluse has shared a link for us to access the data set. And we would like to know by a show, is there any person who hasn't been able to access that? Or you can actually comment so that we know the people that have accessed the data set here. Please reshare. Someone is saying we reshare. It's actually on WhatsApp.
For those who are unable to join the WhatsApp, please send me, like, put your email address here. I can share with you via email.
Yeah, via email, yeah. Oh, yeah. God's will has received. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So in case you are not able to, secondly, we hope that you are able to install Stata so that we can actually do the basics together, at least begin by looking at Stata itself. Yeah. So as Muluse is actually sharing the data set and the material, a request done to maybe stop sharing. I share the Stata window briefly. Yeah, thank you. Let me just share my entire screen here. Advanced. You let me know whether you've been able to see that.
It's coming.
Or it's okay.
Yeah, it's actually your presentation. Yeah,
Yeah,
now we can see the Stata.
the Stata, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm basically increasing the font to ensure that at least people can see. I hope it's visible, right? Dan, can confirm.
Yes, I can see on my end.
Yeah. So thank you so
Is it
much.
visible?
Oh, it's visible. Thank you so much. One other thing that I would like to know, do we all have access to Stata? Do you have Stata installed? Oh my.
My side
Paul.
is okay. Yes.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. One thing to know about Stata, it's a proprietary tool.
Sorry, would you share?
Yeah, you actually
Would you
need a
share us
license.
data set?
Yes, sorry.
Data set.
Oh, data set. You need data set.
Can we access it
Yeah, do you have it? Yeah,
via our email?
please send your email or number so that Muluse shares it with you.
We already shared the emails.
Or you've already shared the email. No problem. With time you are going to.
I'm sending. Just give
Yeah.
me some minutes. Yeah.
Don't worry. Muluse is sending to all of us. Yeah. No worries. I'm just doing the introduction as that happens. So I was
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I just confirming that everyone in the room is for Stata and is not for R. There's another session for R. There's another one for Python. So
Python, yeah.
Yeah, I've received a message. So if there's anyone who was to join R and was to join Python, there's a different link for those two.
Yeah.
Moluse, you can guide us. Yeah.
Okay. I will share for those who are interested in R. I will share with you the link. You can join the other team.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you so much. The other thing you need to know, don't worry so much. These are basically tools. When we talk about R, whether it's Python, whether it's Stata, at the end of the day, eventually you may even end up learning all of them because they are basically like tools in your toolbox. Yeah, and you'll find there is something you can easily do with Stata. There is something else that you can easily do with Python. There is something else that you can easily do with R. So it's always advisable at the end of the day, don't fear learning. You can always learn. It's usually interesting. Personally, I find it interesting to learn new things. So I usually do those languages as well. Yeah. So the other thing is that those recordings will be shared to all of us. So in case today you've joined Stata and at some point you may want to learn Python or R, the material will be shared to all of us and you'll be able to actually follow those other sessions and maybe compare. Yeah. So thank you so much. So on the screen, what I'm presenting is Stata. And I was actually reminding us that Stata is a licensed software. So for you to obtain it, you have to have purchased a license. But most of the organizations usually either purchase the licenses for the employees. So you can have a license for Stata, you can have a license for even SPSS, by the way. But R and Python are open source. They are free softwares. All you need to do is to actually download them online and you can be able to do any kind of analysis that you want. Yeah. But when it comes to Stata, I think there is also SAS, there is SPSS. These are softwares that you have to pay for. You have to pay to get a license for them. So on the screen is Stata. And this is the landing page. When you open Stata, it gives you this landing page. And on the left-hand side, this session, or rather this part, is what keeps the history of any command that you run. So if, for example, I do a browse command, it will appear on this other side. You can see that there is an item number 5 that has been added. Let me increase the font. Yeah. So this one will always give us the history, or it will actually show you the commands that you've run, the ones that were successful. In case the command wasn't correct, it will appear in a different color. You'll see that as we continue. Then at the middle, where you are seeing descriptive analysis, Shamiri baseline, this is the result window. So for example, if you do any tabulation of anything, for example, if I want to do the schools in our case, if I tabulate, you see the results at the middle. That's why we call it the result window. Then below is the command, that allows you to run a command at a time, just as like I've run the browse command, then I've done the tabulation. Then on the right-hand corner, try to move something. Oh yeah. Then on the right-hand corner is where you see the variable. It's called the variable window. And you can actually see you're able, whatever data set you load, the variables therein are actually displayed on this end. Then you also have another hidden window. And of course, you can make it, it was auto hidden, but right now I've actually made it to appear. Whatever, it will actually display the information regarding your data set, the number of variables. You can see it's telling me that my data set has 80 variables, and then the number of observations, which are rows, basically rows. So in my case, the Shamiri baseline data set has 2,192 rows. Then if you click on each variable, it will also display, you can always know about the different variables. Yeah. So that's about the landing page. Then the other windows that you'll get to interact with frequently, we have the data editor. So in case you browse, for example, a data set, you can always see, let me increase the font. Besides that, I also want to do, oh, I think it's my Zoom controls are hiding. Oh yeah, sorry for that. This one as well. Okay, let me say, okay, yeah. So this is the data browser. This window, let me just maximize it. So you can be able to see my records, or rather the records in this data set together with the variables. So the rows are basically the records. This is a single record. If you select, for example, row number 11, it will give you, it's basically a record for either an individual or an entity. An entity may be a school, it may be a country, it may be a respondent. Yeah. So data for an entity is usually saved in form of a row. Yeah. Then the variables, which are also equivalent to questionnaires, are what we refer to as the columns. So like Shamiri ID, maybe it's giving us the identification for the different either entities. In this case, I think it's about the schools. And then we have something like the name. And then we are also going to be looking at the different variables, which are very relevant to what we are looking at. Yeah. Then we also have additional variables like social demographics, the number of siblings an individual had, then the religion, the parents, the number of parents maybe, and whether the parents that are dead in that school. I think that is what it refers. I think so. But we are actually going to look at the description of that data set. Then we can also see a variable like the diagnosis, GAD diagnosis. This is a form of mental health area. Yeah, so we are going to be looking at that. So that is for the data browser. Then in terms of the data browser, in case you see the color coding means something. In my case, because I selected, what do I call it? Let me change it to the default color. I think it's white. Let me try, sorry for that. User preference. Let me go to preferences. So my theme is, I selected the dark theme. But let me try, the default one is usually, is it blue or light gray? Let me see.
Light.
Yeah, it's light.
It's light. Yeah.
Let me select the default theme. Yeah. Yeah, most of the time you'll have this as a default theme. So if I go back to the data editor, you realize that the variables have different color coding. We have this one that is already coded correctly. It's in blue. It is actually a categorical variable. Then anything in red, the computer understands it as a string. So if you want to, we are going to see how you can actually work on this so that you get the corresponding, or rather the right coding and the labels. Yeah, so that it appears like what we have under GAD diagnosis. So that is that about the data editor. You can actually even do direct edits on this, although we don't prefer that in research. We don't want you to tamper with the data. You want to retain it as it was collected. Then there is another very important window, the do files window. Initially, we were actually running one command at a time, but sometimes you may want to keep a history of that command, or rather of different commands, so that when you come, you just run it as a group of commands. So we usually do that on do files. So you save your different commands in a Stata, or rather in a do file, and then any other time you want to replicate, or you want to run the same commands. Yeah. And you can create as many as possible as you are going to be seeing that. So do you now have the data sets with you? Have you received a data set?
Yeah,
oh yes,
most of them have received.
or most of them have received.
Yeah.
So what I want us to basically do, we will load our, sorry, I want us to use our Shamiri baseline, and then don't worry, you'll see how we are going to load those other data sets. But for today, I want us to use, or rather for this session, maybe we can load Shamiri baseline. Yeah, so you open your Stata window, and then on Stata window, when you open Stata, there are different ways of running commands. You can use the graphical GUI, graphical user interface, to load your data set. So in my case, I'll go to File, then you import. You want to actually import the data from any other format into Stata. The Shamiri dataset is in CSV format. It's a form of Excel, a comma-separated version file. So we want to import it into our window. So you go to File, then you import, and since it's a CSV file, you just go to Text Data, CSV, or rather comma-separated item. Then it will give you that option of actually importing it from where you saved it in your laptop. So in my case, I'll go to under File to import. You go directly to where it is. It has actually gone directly to, let me go to my file. So I'll just pick my folder, the path for my folder.
Someone says repeat.
Sorry, Dania.
Yes.
Can you do it slowly? Repeat
Oh,
those
sorry.
steps.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much.
In addition,
So
the data you see is not open in our Stata. So
oh
we
yeah,
try
it's not
to,
open. Yeah,
we try to use our data as is
yeah,
open.
true. Yeah. So have you managed to download your data set? Let me
Oh, yeah,
also
I already downloaded it, but it doesn't open.
don't worry, don't open. Once if you download it to, I'm not used to importing CSV files. Don't worry, you will learn that. Please a link for down.
Okay.
Just download it as it is.
Okay. We will download.
Yeah, download. So one important thing that you need to note is where have you saved that data set? Don't worry the format. Just note where your data set has downloaded to. So basically, if you go to your Chrome, let me assume it's this one. Let me see, sorry. Let me assume I have a data set by, share the data set so that I show them. I wanted to click the emails and I go directly there. Mulusew,
Yes, Daniel.
would you like, let me see whether I can access that. Sorry, let me
Okay,
see.
let me explain. I've sent two forms of data sets. One is
Yeah,
.dta, that is Stata file, and
yeah,
the other one is which says Shamri baseline
yeah,
.csv. The
yeah,
one
thank you.
that Daniel showed you how to open CSV file is first go to the file. Can you open? Yeah. Go to file, import. Go to, because this is CSV file, that is text delimited file. So you click that text data, click Daniel, and then click that folder, the yellow folder from the right corner, and you can search where you save it. Example,
Maybe.
you say example Daniel saved it. Can you go to the CSV file?
Oh yeah, it's mine is there.
Yes, Shamri, click the Shamri. Click Shamri, open, and then yeah,
Yeah, it's okay.
yeah, this is a steps that you can open. Where do you click to set the first row as a variable name?
There, the first row.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think you have Stata 17
17. Yeah,
or 18.
17. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then go to submit and the data will open.
Yeah.
Just wait a minute. Dan, just a minute.
Yes.
Yeah, before you submit, where we have quote binding, it's written loose, eh?
Yes.
So it's written
Oh,
loose.
let me see. Yeah, quote binding. Yeah.
Yeah. So we normally set it to strict so that we just avoid any overlapping of the rows.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You got what Daniel has said. Repeat that, please.
Yeah. So I'm saying, where there's quote binding, the default is loose. It's written loose, eh? So we usually set it to strict. You just select that icon and then you set to strict so that the information in one row does not overlap to the next row. So it's just in one row. So
In
that
one row,
usually
yeah.
happens, yeah, if you have comments in your data or a field where there's a lot of, it's a string variable that is long and it may overlap to the next row. So to avoid that, you set it to strict.
To strict, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dan. I hope participants, you're noting that. It's quite important. So this one helps us to avoid situations where rows overlap. Yeah, thank you so much for that. Then to be able to select the variable names, although this one is also dependent on the Stata version you have, you look for that item that talks about the variable names. So in some Stata versions, I think we'll have a checkbox instead. And then it will tell you, select this if the first row is variable names. So in my case, Stata version 17, I just select always, and then it will automatically pick. Let me try to do never. If you say never, you realize that the variable names is also picked, like it's a record, and that is not what you want. And then Stata will try to generate the variable names. But that most of the time, that's not what we usually want. Most of the data sets or the files that we have already have a variable name as a first row. That's why we have to make sure that we select the option that will allow that to be picked automatically by the Stata version. Then once you are at this level, you have a preview. You can be able to go through your preview, see whether the data has been picked the way you would like. And then once you've made sure it has been picked, then you can submit. But before I submit, you also realize that the coding, the color code for my data is actually red. So what that means is that the computer has picked all my variables, and actually it has picked them as strings. So before I do analysis, I must make sure that I first transform my variables or my questions into the data type that I would like. Yeah, so let me just submit. A dialog box appears and it is asking me, do you want to replace the data in memory? Yeah, in my case, I'll say yes. But it's always very important to don't just click stuff without understanding the implication. In my case, it's automatically the moment I do yes, it will do away with whatever I had done. But it's not a problem because that one is okay. So I'll say yes, and then okay. Yeah. So are we good up to that point? Where is the data set? For now, don't worry about the version. We can use any version. Even if you have version 12, version 13, 14, 15, we should be able to follow the steps that we are doing today. Any version can actually do. But personally, I'm using version 17. I see Daniel has responded. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, the data set. Oh, the data set. Chrisom Godswill is yet to get the data set. Maybe, and he has shared his email address. Kindly. And then there's also Joseph Kilonzo. Yeah, no problem. Dan, you'll be responding
Sorry,
to some so that I continue.
The data we accessed is almost was a number of variable with 334.
Oh, 300 and?
34.
Oh, I think that's a different data set, but it's okay.
Yeah. That's
But it's okay, you can.
Okay.
That is another data set, Daniel.
That's another data set, yeah.
Yeah, it's the one I shared the latest.
Oh, this one, the DP practical data, right?
Yeah. That is.
Oh, I wanted you to try to use the comma separated version, but we'll still use this one today as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's okay. Let's just proceed. Make sure there's somebody who has raised their hand, right?
Chisom. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Chisom, please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. I wanted to ask, when you are importing the data as CSV,
Yeah.
I observed that some of the data we had values. I saw 7, 1, 5, but they were red in color. Is it not supposed to be black?
Oh, yeah. Thank you
Something
so much for that question.
why
Yes.
is it appearing this way? And then what is the function of that NA? What does that mean? Why is it there? I thought it was an error when I saw it.
Now, thank you so much, Chisom. Yeah, most of these variables are supposed to be numbers, as you are saying so. But whenever Stata comes across such a value, ideally, NA is a letter, are letters, right?
Yeah, that's strings.
Yeah. So anytime Stata comes across a variable that has a mixture of data types, it automatically picks it as a string.
Okay.
I wanted to confirm whether there is a variable that was completely, that was fully in numbers, but we don't have. And the reason we don't have is because if you just scanning through our data set, this one automatically is a mixture of Shamiri is the word Shamiri is composed of both letters and numbers. So automatically that it picks that as a string. This one is a combination of letters. This one, ideally, it should be it should be digits or numbers, but then we have some rows having NA. NA in most of the time when we are doing research, whenever you come across NA, it means either that value was skipped or it was a missing value. Yeah. So so that's the reason our variables appear in red, because all of them, Stata has actually recognized them as strings, all of them actually. So part of our data preparation step will be to do cleaning. We need to transform the NA to the relevant value. Yes. Yeah. So we have to work on that. Actually, when we are doing statistics or data science stuff, we usually spend most of the time doing data cleaning. It's actually the foundation, because without proper data cleaning, without preparing your data, whatever analysis will emanate from your data will be shambles. It won't be correct. So don't worry about data cleaning. This is an exercise you'll always do, and you'll always make sure that your data has quality. Yeah. So part of the data cleaning, we have to transform the numbers. Actually, even the numbers, you really can't make sense of what 7 means in this variable. You also don't know what MSSS_2 means. So you really need to label your variables. You need to name them accordingly. You also need to make sense of the variables one at a time. You look at one, what data was collected by that question, because this is basically a question by the way. Yeah, right? I hope it makes sense. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, any other question as we proceed? Let me see. So something else I wanted to say, sorry for that. We have used the graphical user interface to import our data set. But imagine how easy it is when you get used to commands. So if, for example, I use this command, because this is what we usually take to any, let me just open a do file and paste that command. This command is what was run by Stata to import my data. This is basically the command that was used by Stata to import my data. So if somebody had this line, this single line, and another person went to file, import, then you select the type of data, because most of the time you can be given data sets in different formats. One person can share their data in Excel. Actually, you can see the first one is XLSX. That is an Excel data set. Someone else can share in CSV. Today we shared in both CSV and DTA. Do you have DTA? Yeah, and DTA. But DTA files can actually be just opened automatically. There is no problem. A DTA file, you just go directly to open, and then you open the file. It will be recognized automatically. But for other versions, you have to go to import, then you select the corresponding data file, and then you pick it. So you can have even an SPSS data set. You can use SAS, you can use even text files, as long as they have data, and you'll be able to pick that data. Something more interestingly is also, you can also connect to a database. You can connect to a database management system like SQL. You can have access. You can always use the ODBC to connect to other different database systems. Yeah. So that one was about importing our data. So that's the first command that you've run. And when you're doing your analysis, it's always good to label the commands. Sorry for, I don't know whether I'll confuse us. Should we first use the graphical before I go back to the do file, so that I don't confuse us? Sorry.
There is
Hello?
a hand. There is
Oh,
a
there is a
hand
hand.
from
Oh,
CSA.
yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, one thing that I confused with my computer is when I
Yes.
import the data
Yeah.
from spaces, just there is no choice of spaces data. Just I'm seeing from your computer that there is a choice to import from data of spaces.
Or in yours, it's not there.
But yeah, in my computer there is no, but I don't know whether the Stata version, I am using the Stata version 14.
Or try to check again, and someone else can also confirm if you have, you are saying it's Stata version 14.
Yeah, I'm using the Stata version 14, but there is only a choice of Excel spreadsheet, text data in a fixed format, text data in fixed format with dictionary, and formatted text data. SAS export, it says SAS export, and
Or
there is no other.
SAS, yeah.
Yeah, and there is no data from to import from spaces. So what can I do?
So there are workarounds. Maybe when they were producing Stata version 14, apparently, I don't know, have I ever used version 14? So I still don't remember whether they had that option of importing Stata data sets. But what we can, what we
The second
basically do,
option is not.
the second option is not there. Yeah. So basically what we do, or rather as a workaround from experience, you can always, when you are in SPSS, then you unless you save your data in form of an Excel or CSV, and then you now import it into Stata. Yeah. Maybe that is our workaround. Yeah.
I agree with you, Dan.
Yes.
Because I agree with you, because I think version 14 does not have that provision for importing SPSS dataset.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe, as you say, we could save the SPSS data as an Excel data and then import it as an Excel.
As an Excel, yeah. Wow, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
You.
Actually, that's one of them. There's somebody else. Yeah. So one thing that you really need to understand about these tools, we have so many tools, but looking at them critically, you'll always realize that each of them has a specific weakness. And that's why there's always need to learn as much as you can. Because I usually consider them as tools. Sometimes you might use appliers. There are times there is an area that you'll be required to use a different kind of tool. That's why it's important as going forward. The concepts are basically the same. So you learn these concepts in Stata today. When you try to learn R with these concepts, it actually becomes even easier. When you go to Python, you realize there are things that Python is also good at, and you can easily do them in Python. So in our case, we usually use all of these tools. Stata is very good at doing data preparation. I don't know whether you can agree with me, Dan and Muluse. Stata is so good at doing data preparation. We usually clean data very easily. And then maybe when you want to do some forms of data visualization, now you can switch to others because maybe they have more beautiful visualizations. There are better themes in maybe Python or R, but it's always good to get used to this. Yeah. Yes, Muluse? Yeah. So no problem. So allow me to be guided by my master do file. So have you managed to import your data? So in my do file, the first thing that I do is to change directory. There is this command that is cd. It helps you to change to the working directory. Where have you saved your data? Like in my case, for example, if I want to change the directory to where my data set is, you can basically go pick the location of your data. Then you come and say cd, and then you paste that. And then since I would like to save the commands for use maybe tomorrow or the day after, that's why I usually use a do file. And you can actually launch a do file easily from the command by doing do edit. If you do edit, it will launch, it will actually open a do file for you. Just try this, do edit, then you enter. Have you done that? You see, it has opened quite a number for me. There is a 2, there is 1, there is that one. Let me just go and do edit. This is basically opening a do file. Oh, sorry, I'm doing the wrong place. So this one is basically do edit is for opening a do file.
edit.
Yes. Sorry, I think I should have done. Sorry. Oh, I can't run that here. So here you just do edit. Do edit. So that one will open a do file for us so that we continue running our commands here. So once you do edit, then I want us to change directory to where you have saved your data. So in my case, let me put it's, this is where I've saved my data. And that is where I'll save what I'll do today. So my first command is you change directory to where you'll be working. Secondly, I want us to copy the command for importing data because we want to work with data. So you can even come and click what had been run by your Stata. You just copy that and put it in your do file. Importing data. In my case, I've imported CSV data. Of course, the last command is usually saving our data. Saving data. Sorry, saving data. The command for saving data, you can easily get it even from, you can click on, do you see below file? there is a diskette, or rather there is an icon for save. So when you click on save, it will pop out this dialog box, and it will require you to provide the file name. In my case, it will be test data, Shamiri test data. Actually, let me just call it Shamiri baseline test data. And then, of course, here you can indicate, it's always important to say where you want it saved. So in my case, I want to create a subfolder within called test data. So I have that, and then I can actually save it. So the moment I save, the result window provides me with the command that has been run by Stata. And since I would like to use that command to reuse it again, I copy it by either you copy and then you put it in the Stata window, or rather the do file window. And then yeah.
Dan, there's a hand from Abalo, I believe.
Yes, please go ahead, Abalo. Thank you so much, Dan.
Hello, thank you. I think I got a bit lost on at the beginning when you're creating the do file.
Yeah.
I don't know, could you, because I'm also using the Stata version 14. I was just requesting if you can go back and let me see what you've been doing.
No problem. So have you been able to import the data?
Yes, I've been able to import the data.
So if you, on your main screen, if you do browse, what are you seeing if you do browse? This is called the browse command. Just type browse under, there is this command section, just type BR, then you enter.
Okay.
Just BR, and it's case sensitive.
BR.
Yeah, BR. It's basically browse.
Yes, it brings the data, the table, and what we had seen earlier after importing. Yes.
Yeah, this one, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So it gives you the data editor, or rather the data window.
Yes.
So it shows you in the right place. So one thing that I wanted us to do, remember we said the purpose of do files is it's actually to file, or rather to save the commands that you are running, so that in case tomorrow you want to redo the same thing, you don't have to go through the pain of doing all those steps again. So you want to save the commands. So what I wanted you to do is to, still under the command window, I wanted us to open a do file.
Okay.
And there are two alternatives, or rather there are two ways of opening a do file. So the first one is, let me see, window. You can go to window, then do file editor, window, then do file editor, and then you can click on new do file editor. The moment you click on that, don't worry, my Stata version 17 is actually opening it automatically here. Yeah, it's actually different from, if you do that with Stata version 15 and the older versions, the moment you go there, it will bring it to the front automatically. The moment you click on window, then do file editor, then new editor, it will actually bring it in front. Yeah. So that is the first way of opening a do file. The second way of opening a do file is just using the command window. But this one you get used to with time. And it's so easy because all you need to do is to type do edit as one word. let me add, let me increase the font so that you can see the commands. You see, you just type do edit, then you enter, and then it will open for you the do file editor. But remember, at the end of the day, we usually use do files to help us replicate the work that we are doing. Such that, for example, if I have a team in the field that is collecting data and I want to do data quality checks today, I will do research and I will write my commands. And then in case I download additional data tomorrow, I don't have to rewrite the commands. All I need to do is to open my do file, like in my case, I'll open my do file and then I just run. And then it will go through in short, what I've basically done, I've automated my procedure. Have I made it a bit clearer?
Yes, I've opened a window with a do file editor. It's open.
Yeah, so let me now add you the commands. I know I'm yet to give you the commands. So the first thing that we are writing on our do file, we want to indicate where do you want to pick where do you want to save your work for the day, or where do you want to pick your data sets from. So that's why I had this first command for change directory. It's like changing the folder. In my case, my folder, the one where I've saved my data set is actually this. This is where I've saved my data set. So I'm going to the address bar and I'm picking the location. Then I'm going to the do file that was opened. You can use that using the taskbar. Then you just type cd and then you open, or rather you use double quotes, and then you insert the location. Yeah. So maybe you can do that, Abalo. Yeah, so the first command is about changing the directory. And this one can really save, in the sense that if I do this, for example, let me show you something. If I change directory, I don't have to repeat the same directory inside here. I can actually do away with that. I can actually do away with that because I'm already in that directory. So I can now get inside the data folder that was specified up there and import that file that is called, if you can see, there is that file that is called Shamiri. So I'm telling Stata, import the file that the CSV file that is called Shamiri CSV. And then these other options is to tell it that the first row are variable names. Variable names are in the first row. That is basically what this option is saying. Then the other one is to tell Stata, if I had some other data set, clear, please work with this, what I'm importing right now. Let it replace whatever is in the memory. So that's basically what I'm telling Stata. Yeah. Maybe you can check those. Oh yeah, Daniel has also added other options of creating do files. So we have do edit. We can also do Control+9 on Windows. Oh yeah, Patrick, can you hear us, Patrick? Oh yeah, so it's okay. Maybe Daniel, you'll confirm with Patrick whether he's been able to hear us.
Okay.
Oh yeah, someone else is saying we are fast. Sorry for that. We don't want to be too fast because we are here to help each other and to learn. So Kituf, Kitufe, where are you lost? Where have we lost you?
In creating the do file.
Oh, in
How
creating
can I
the do
change
file.
how can I change the directory?
Or changing the directory, no problem.
Yes.
So, how do you change the directory? Okay, this is not a must, but it's important to have a working folder. Example is, for example, if you have, you are working on so many projects or with different projects, you don't want to have everything put inside the same project, because at the end of the day, you want to separate your work, to organize your work. So ideally, let me just take you back. Let me just open this file of mine, my computer. So you can see on my computer, of course, I have drive C and I have drive D. If I go to drive D, I also have other folders that I've created because I don't want to have everything mixed up. I may have schoolwork, I may have different projects. So you really want to have a specific place where you want to save the work for today, for example. So you can even create a folder. You can even go to right click your drive D, and then you create a folder there, right? Sorry for this. Let me try to minimize this. So maybe I right click and then I create a new folder and I call it mental health study, or rather training, mental health training. So the reason I've created this folder is because I've created mental health training, and under mental health training, I know we've had quite a number of lectures or sessions. Others are for R. There is what we are currently doing today for Stata. We have Python. Then we were also trained on other modules. So if I don't want all that work to be cluttered or to be disorganized within my computer, I can come and say, this is Stata training. I may also have another folder for Python. I know it's basic for some people, but it's okay. Please bear with us. Then we may also have R training. Yeah. So since we are doing Stata today, you want to put your files inside the Stata training. So basically, let me just go and download stuff from the laptop. And I want to, let me see. Let me do this. Let me download some stuff. Yeah, let me download this. Let me download this. I want to download that. And I don't want to download it just anywhere in my computer. So I will specifically navigate to D. I created the folder in D, mental health, and it's Stata training. So the first file I'm saving is, I can even give it the right name, that. I also want to save Shamir. So I go to Shamir and I download. Yeah. So if I go back to my folder, you can see that I now have I have data sets. I have the MHDP practical data, then I have Shamir baseline. Yeah. And inside, I don't want to clutter things inside, so I can create an extra folder where I'll save my do files. Let me say do files. Yeah. I can even create another folder called data, so that we have them on one level. So I want to insert the Shamir inside the data and also the MHDP inside the data folder. Yeah. So when I go back to When I go back to Stata, let me save my do file inside this. So I'll save it inside here. Sorry for that. So I'll first change the directory to this root directory. So I'll say change directory. And change directory, we do cd, and then you open double quotes, and then you insert. Let me try to increase the font. And then you can, whenever I don't want to feel like I'm alone. Yeah.
We are in the room.
Yeah, in the room, yeah.
We are together.
Yeah.
We are
It's
here.
okay. So basically, the first command that I've given to Stata, I've told Stata that I want my working directory, my root directory that I'm working on is this. It is Stata training. So that's what I've basically told it. Change directory. Whatever I now tell you to do, try to look for that inside the root directory, which is the mental health training, Stata training. But remember, inside the Stata training, we also have additional folders. On one folder is where the data will be fetched, and the other folder is where I'll save my do files. So the first thing, I've changed the directory. Then I want to import data. Import data. And in my case, we have different forms of data sets. You may have data in DTA files, which is basically Stata data files. You may also have access to CSV formats. There are many, as you saw under the Stata import command. We have different formats or different types of data sets that we can actually import into our Stata window. So in my case, I want to import a CSV file. But remember, you can have as many types as possible. Yeah. So the first thing, you can either write a command if you get used to it, but the easiest way is you can use the graphical user interface to construct your command. So you just go to import, comma separated file, then you go where your data is, and you pick your data. By doing that, you also go ahead and change these options to make sure that the command is doing what you want. So the first thing that I usually check is to make sure that the first row has been picked as a variable names. Then, as Daniel reminded us, we need to make sure that it's strict so that we avoid overlaps. And and then you submit. The moment you say okay, it will ask you whether you want to. So by doing that, what I've basically done is to construct this command. It has even imported the data for me, but since I want to rerun this command tomorrow, I want to automate this process. It's always good for me to either pick the command from here or you pick it from the result. So you can pick it. The moment you click on it on this side, any command that you click on this side, it is one that is automatically activated. So if I pick the latest one, I copy it or even cut, and then I take it to my do file. Remember, the purpose of do files is to help automate your processes, whether it is the data cleaning process. You can have a do file for doing data cleaning. You can have another one for doing data preparation. You can have another one for doing analysis. Yeah. Am I clear so far? Is it clear so far?
Yes, this is very clear. I got
It's
you.
okay. Yeah,
Yes,
thank you
clear.
so much. Yeah. Let me minimize this, sorry. So, so far, these two commands have shown where the working directory is. Then I've imported the data. Something that I want to try, sorry, let me just try this on the side. Want to do something, sorry for that. Whether it's going to recognize, yeah. Oh yeah, the initial directory root, or rather the name was the complete name. So since I had already changed the directory, I said D mental health, then I don't have to repeat this part. I can now tell the computer from the root directory, you just need to look for data folder. That's what I've basically done here. Look for the data folder. Then inside you look for this file called Shamiri baseline. Shamiri baseline, yeah. Yeah, so that's what I've done. And it's always good to save your data file. So remember, we are using our Stata graphical user interface. Let me type that. We are using GUI to help us construct the commands. Graphical user interface. We are basically utilizing the power of the graphical user interface. Remember, you can do so much with you can even do analysis without writing commands by just going to the click. By just using click, you go to data, you describe. You go to data utilities, you can go to the variable manager, to the statistics, and so on and so forth. Yeah. Yeah. So I want to use the graphical user interface to save my data. Remember the data set, the moment I ran this command, the data was imported into Stata. That's why you are seeing it on the right-hand corner. You can see the names of the variables. You can see their labels. But that doesn't mean that it is clean. Simply because it has been imported, it does not mean that it is clean. So there is still work that you need to do it. However, the variable window tells you whether you've managed to import your data or not. Because if that command failed, otherwise I wouldn't be able to access these items on the right-hand corner. So I want to use the graphical user interface to save my data set. Remember, by running this first command, these two commands, the only thing that I've done is to load the data into memory. It is yet to be saved. And how do you save data? You can either go to save under file. I want to say save. This dialog box will appear. Then I have to say, where do you want this data to be saved? Remember, there is a new folder that we created. We have the raw data, but I want to now say the cleaned data. So I can create a new folder called cleaned data. And then let me say, what I'll basically do, because I want to generate commands, I want to come and say, sorry, I want to indicate where the data will be saved. So I want to save the data here inside here, and it will be called Shamiri baseline. And then you can either do DTA because Stata datasets are saved with an extension .dta, or you can as well leave it out because it's also stated below the type. If you look below, so I can say save. Yeah. So done, or rather the participants, I want you to ask 2 or 3 questions and then we proceed from there. Yeah. I don't know. I think there's a comment. Yeah.
Yes, thanks, Dan. I think I can't see any question at the moment on the chat. There's one that was asking, Bayan was asking, when you are saving the data set, yeah, why can't we just use Control S? Yeah, I agree you can use S as long as you know where you're saving the data. So you can use Control S for saving. you know, different, I mean, you can just Control S and then it will take you to a folder where you want to save. And then if you agree with that folder, then you just save it in that folder. So I can't see any other question on the chat. If you have any question, you can just unmute and ask, please. Any questions regarding Daniel's presentation? Do we still have people who have not accessed the dataset so that we don't leave anyone behind? Anyone who has not accessed the dataset? Muluse, you can answer this. Someone is asking, can they access the Python and R recordings and where? Okay, Daniel, Muluse will respond to you. Any other questions?
Oh, hello.
Yes, Daniel.
Oh, yeah. So you've explained, sorry, I think I missed one word about the Control F.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and we said it's about the context. In Stata, remember when you are under the do file, when the do file is the one on top, or it's the active screen, the moment you do Control S, the computer will understand that you want to save there. Like in my case, right now, what is currently active is the do file. So if I click on Control S, it will understand that I want to save the do file. And I can actually go ahead and say that I want to save the do file here. I want to save it here, right? So I'll just click on that, and then I'll indicate where I want to save the do file. And then I'll say the master mental health master do file, maybe because it's there. Most of the time, we usually work with multiple do files. Maybe one of your do files is for loading data, or rather is the parent do file. And then on the side, you can have a do file that is for doing data cleaning. Then you can also have an extra do file that is purely for descriptive analysis. You can even have as many do files as possible. And it's possible to actually call do files into other do files. And you'll see that as we continue. Yeah, so when you Control save, when you are in do files, it will understand that you want to save the do file. When your active screen is the main Stata window, let's see what happens. If you click on Control S, it will actually understand. You can see the dialog box that has appeared. It will think that you want to save the data. So in case I say yes, it will be basically saving the data. But I have to be sure, is that where I really want to save the data? So it's always good to know where you want to save the data. If I click on yes, it will replace. Yeah, and you can see where it has been saved. It has been saved in the mental health, Stata training, cleaned. Yeah, so it has actually saved it in the right place. Yeah. Then, so I can basically pick on this command, and then I can save it. Remember, we want to be able to we are actually automating these steps so that tomorrow I don't need to tell it that I want to go to this directory, then I'll import this file called this, and then I'll save. I don't want to go using the click, because it's a long process. But tomorrow I can easily just come open my do file, and then once I'm inside the do file, here you can see there is a command here, execute the do file. I'll just say do, and then it will run all the commands within my do file. So actually that's that's actually one of the advantages of a do file. You can run as many commands as possible. You can run one. If you just highlight on the command and run, it will just do one thing. But if you've not selected anything, you just have your cursor somewhere, and then you click on, I don't know whether you can see where the nini is, the execute is. If you click on that, it will actually run all the commands. Yeah. Is it okay so far? So basically, we've changed the directory, we've imported the data, we've also saved the data. This one means saving the data, saving the data in Stata, in Stata. Yeah. Now the next step, yeah. The next step is, now we have our data inside Stata, and you can be able to view that by typing browse under the command. You can see our data. You can see our data. But just as we had this discussion earlier on, these variables don't look okay, right? These variables don't look okay because first and foremost, some of these questions are supposed to be purely numbers, but looking at the color code, they appear in string. They are strings basically. So the first thing that we need to do, you can work on a variable at a time. That's usually the best discipline. You can begin by even looking at the sociodemographics, because by scrolling through all these variables, it appears from here, from age going down to perceived academic variable. If I browse that section alone, and you can be able to do that, you can clearly see that these are the sociodemographic details of the individuals. First and foremost, you can see the age, you can see the form, because it's actually speaking about the class or rather secondary school. Then we have gender, we have the tribe, then the grouping. Is that tribe considered a majority or something? There's that grouping. Then it also has county. You can see the different counties. Then the financial status, yeah. Home, we have religion, and all those are social demographics. So you may want to first clean those. You can actually even go to age first and use, we are beginning to interact with this data set. So you can do something like tab age, and you can see the options available. We have this data set is about people whose age is between 12 and 20. However, there are also other records without any information, as you can see on the result window. Yeah. The other thing that you need to know, that one has told you around, you can actually see the range, the age range. Secondly, you've also seen that there is a string value, and this is not actually acceptable in Stata. So what you first need to do is to clean the age, this age variable. So how do we clean? So let me go back to my Stata window, and then I can say this is the cleaning do file. So if you are working on just one variable, the first thing you may want to do is to replace the NAs with blanks. So something that Stata can understand. So you can say replace, I'm working on age. Replace age is equals to that if age is equals to NA. So what have I basically told Stata? Remember, I want to transform this variable into a digit, or rather a number, so that I can be able to do analysis I can be able to do something like the mean age. I want to be able to do any univariate analysis, multivariate with this variable, but I cannot do with it as long as it is string of string type. And the reason I've known it's of string type is because the color coding is basically red. It's in red color or brown. Yeah. So the first thing that I'll do, I can actually come and run this command and see whether it will work. Yeah. So I've highlighted this and I've run the command. Initially, you can see what happened. It says that it was able to replace 109 real changes. So if I try to run the same command I had run, and you can see that on the history, remember we said this is the history. The left-hand side is the history. So if I now run the tab age, you can see that I no longer have this. The NAs, I no longer have the NAs because they were replaced with something blank. That's why you can't see the NAs here. And you can still run the same command and you tell Stata to include any missing value. You can see, oh yeah, there's something else I have not done, sorry. So after I change this, after I've replaced the NAs, I now want to destring this variable called age. And I want to replace so that if I run this, I'll be able to see that the age range is between 12 and 20. However, there are some rows that didn't have values. Yeah. So there are two things that I've done. First, basically, this is data cleaning. This is the first stage. I'm actually started to do data cleaning. I've started to do data cleaning. And the first thing that I did is to replace the strings that were in that variable. And how did I know about those strings? Because when I tabulated that variable initially, I was able to see that there was some string in a variable that should not have strings, in a variable that should only have digits. So the first step was to first replace the string, and then after you replace the string, you run this other command called udestring. You transform it to a number. The moment you do that, you can now easily do any type of analysis using that variable. Yeah, I hope it's clear so far. If you now go back to the
Dan, just
yes,
just an addition.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. This is great to start with the cleaning. So if perhaps someone has the data set and they just want to maintain all the variables, like the age as a string.
Yeah.
And then they will still be able to generate a different variable with a different age variable, but now numeric.
Yeah,
so
sure.
Perhaps you just want to retain your original format of the data, but you still want to generate that new age numeric. So you can just do the string age as you've written on command line 4.
Number 4, yeah.
Yeah, and then generate a new age variable. Maybe you can just call it anything, or age new or age 1, so that you have the two variables. So one is string, one is number. So you can always check. You add the original variable and then the new variable.
Yeah, wow, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Have you seen that? Hello? Let me do data cleaning. Yeah, I hope, oh, great question. Yes, please. Oh, Eric Anku. Were you sorted? We can't hear Eric. Yeah, thank you so much. Maybe we can do that with the next one, Dan.
Yes.
Let me see one of the other variables we can actually do that. We can work on gender maybe. Although I know this one, it's a categorical, but it's still okay. So we can actually do that with this. So that's the first thing that you have two alternatives already. Let me do gen. So we want to destring gender, and remember gender, we can still work. Right now, what we are basically doing, we are playing around, we are using this programming,
Danny,
or rather statistical. Yes, please.
Yeah, before that, maybe I have a question.
Yeah, please.
Like for age, there are quite a number of participants have missing value. I hope you will discuss about, how they should handle this missing. Like, should they eliminate and continue with their analysis, or what is the best approach for them to handle this missing 109 people?
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, very interesting discussion there. Yeah, looking at the number of missing values, looking at these variables specifically, it's actually at 5%, right? Which is, anyway, that's a high number. Yeah, and so there are different approaches that you can take. You can, actually that one is case by case, or rather project by project. And sometimes you may, if maybe the analysis is quite sensitive and you cannot be able to impute the age. By imputation, we mean you can either work with something like the averages or the means. You can actually, instead of having these values being blank, you can either work around, one of the workaround is to use means, so that you populate this value with a mean. However, remember, we are yet to look at the entire data set, because it may be a valid missing value. Because if it's a questionnaire that was being filled and the person said that they don't want to be interviewed, they did not consent, you may realize that maybe the entire row, let me try to, sorry. Sorry for that. I want to browse the entire data set, and then you want to see, just as an example, the ones where the age is missing. This is a case in point. This one is another case. If you look at row number 9, you realize that it's actually not applicable in so many variables. Except, I think, UCLA 6. Actually, in only one variable. So I think for me, I would, and I'm still open to discussion, this one should be handled at a case-by-case basis. Because this one, even if you input the age, the record still won't be useful for us, because even other indicators or other variables don't have values. I can also look at another one that had, if you look at this one, you realize that it has the entire record has values except for the age variable. So that one would be a good candidate for doing imputation. And imputation may be something like, you may look at the mean. Something else, you may also look at what grade are they in. And then using that, you can actually maybe say, if for example, they're in Form 3, most probably they are within this age. Yeah. I don't know, maybe you can advise something else, maybe Daniel, Muluse, or even the participants who has something to say about that.
Yeah, maybe let's hear from participants that to have their views and learn from their experience, and then we will discuss how to handle missing values. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone?
And Shemsi is saying, when we say missing value is a problem, how much percent? Yeah, very true. Yeah, we looked at the percentage and we saw it's only, it's also a significant number because it's actually around 5%. But that's not too bad. Yeah. Any comment from participants? In case there is somebody, we can actually allow you to, what approach have you used previously? Johnson. Hello, Johnson. Can I unmute Johnson? Maybe unmute Johnson. Eh.
Okay.
No one wants to say something?
To save time.
Yeah.
Like I want to advise to go through about missing data analysis. This is really interesting part of statistical analysis.
Yeah.
And then this is always the case. We often face corrupted data or missing values.
Yeah.
During yeah. So the first step is we need to understand the reason why we have these missing values. Like the one you show, for example, number 9 is completely missing at random. That means that is a systematic error. That means this guy maybe is unwilling to respond to all questions, despite he's eligible for the study. So he's not willing to respond, or he was not there during the time of data collection. Okay, that is missing completely at random.
Yeah.
But there are sometimes, because of our data collectors are in hurry, sometimes we may have some missing values. Okay, so there are some techniques. The first step is understanding why the missing is important, and the second step is how to handle this missing. Okay, we have the missing values. First, how much? What is the proportion? That's an important question. Interesting question from Shamso. How much of our data or our observation has a missing value related to this variable? Then, it depends on the distribution of the data again. Imagine if you are studying a rare phenomena, like example, meningitis, or a rare phenomena like something which occur rarely, some chronic disease.
Yeah.
Imagine missing one individual from that variable has a really greater impact on your data. But sometimes, like age which will follow a normal distribution. Remember your statistics. Therefore, how do you handle this missing data? Some use complete case analysis, completely just ignore those 109 people, like you can show them in the table, and then continue their analysis. Why?
Yeah.
The assumption they have is it has no impact. It has no impact on the outcome of interest, or has no impact on the relationship between explanatory variables and the dependent variable. Therefore, they completely ignore and continue without 109 people. But You have to stop and think. Do this missing variable, I mean, this observation, or do this missing participant has an impact? Are they involved in this analysis? If yes, that kind of completely removing analysis is not appropriate.
Yeah.
Therefore, we need to go for imputation, replacing those missing values, either using mean value. Sometimes they use mean.
Yeah.
Sometimes some people, they use the nearest values, like someone who has the same characteristics. You go check gender and some of the variables, like example, in this case, you go to check the tribe, the gender, the county, the home, the sibling, some of the important variable. And if they look similar to each other, replacing the missing value with the one who is really very close to this guy is appropriate way. But that is a very tedious. It is difficult if you have more number of observation. So what do? You go to the regression, missing value analysis using regression techniques, or sometimes they call it imputation. Okay, I don't want to take much of time, but I really advise our participant to read about imputation, imputing using mean, imputing using regression, and how to handle missing value, why missing value, and how do we handle that missing values. For the Shamsu's question, there is some rule of thumb. Some, for some studies, like 5% is like quite huge, but for the other, maybe 10% of missing value would not be appropriate. So we have to find some solution. Imagine if we replace those missing values with mean or within some regression coefficient. It reduces our variance. It reduces variance. So sometimes the relationship should be, maybe it become not based on the real data, but it be based on the regression. So that means it's a fake. Maybe you may falsely create a false relationship. So we have to be careful, like when we choose the type of missing data analysis. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I can also see a comment from Esther Njuguna. Esther, would you like to be heard a bit? Esther?
Yes.
Please go ahead and maybe you can comment.
I was just answering the question. Had lost my mic that time.
Yeah.
So I was looking how I've handled missing data on my side. Most of the time, depending on the significance of the data, at times I've done the imputation as we've been told. Yeah, mostly I've used median because I found at times median is less changed by the disparities of the data. It's more, this is where the median is, it will be there. At times, if the column is not very significant, I can entirely drop it from the analysis. That is what I would do.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Shamsu, you can speak.
Yeah. Hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, already I got the answer from Dr. Muluso. So you can go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I can see there's a question from Arabat. Should this occur after cleaning? Not really. Remember, we are not the ones who are introducing the missing data. It was actually missing even as we, it was still missing even before we did any cleaning. Yeah. I hope I've answered you, Arabat. Yeah, we are not the ones who introduced the missing data points. No, it was actually there even before. And that's why we had not applicables, NAs, in some of the cells. Yeah, I don't think there is any other question. Yeah, but in case of any other question.
Yeah, and then this This is why, as you have said and Mulus have said, it's important to arrest such issues at data collection stage or when this is just continuing to be collected. So you progressively check what data is coming in, what is missing, so that if there's need for recollection, that data is recollected in good time. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dan. Yeah. So those are some of the measures to avoid this situation. Yeah. Using even some of the platforms, they can really help you in making sure that you are not encountering any missing. We have platforms like even ODK, for example, we have Service CTO, we have ODK, all those platforms. There is a way you can actually restrict the platform so that when people go out there and they do interviews, they will always ensure that all the questions are asked and answered by the respondent. Yeah, thank you so much. So why should we have this data? Having cleaned the data set. Not the data set is not yet cleaned, Arabat. Yeah, we just started to look at the data because we really wanted you to have a feel of raw data. How does raw data look like? And this is a representation of what is in the world. By all means, this data, the cleanliness of this data is quite commendable because some of the data sets you may receive out there are even very dirty. Yeah, so this one is actually so good because we've only encountered a few missing values, and these are things that you can actually deal with. Yeah, by doing what we said, either doing imputation and the different types of actual imputation we are talking about. Yeah. So we looked at one of the variables, the age variable. Yeah, we've dealt with the age variable. Whatever we are doing should now be done to all the variables ideally. But remember, data cleaning and data preparation is usually a tedious process. And sometimes you may really not want to do some things on the entire data set because the values are not the same. The challenges of each variable might actually be different. So that's why we usually do a variable at a time, Otherwise, as you progress, you can actually see how you can even write loops that can help you to handle many variables at the same time. But I think we can do that in the course of this week. So remember, we are looking at our social demographics. We are using our do files to be able to reproduce our work. So gender, sorry. Oh yeah. So we have gender num. So you want to do that. Then you can actually compare whatever you've generated. You can tabulate that and see whether we have I done? Done, is my command really correct? This string gender. So
yes. Dan is correct. It's correct.
Yeah.
It is.
It
is correct. Yeah.
I was wondering why I didn't manage to generate a new one.
String gender, generate gender num.
Tab gender num. I'm not sure I was able to generate that. Oh
So
yeah,
it says
because
not generate. It's non-numeric.
It's non-numeric, okay. Yeah. So basically you still need to, let me just do this, sorry. So let me clean the gender, and then I replace all the num.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So you can actually do that on your end as well. Remember what we are basically doing. We want to deal with all NAs. In my case now, you can see we don't have any NA. You can do that for form as well. And we said you can do this for for multiple variables. So let me do that. I'm taking us to you can do that for, but I want someone to tell us, how do we write a loop for multiple variables? Because there is an easy way of handling that. I want to pose that challenge to us. We want to handle, let me see, a few. Let's handle this. Let me see. We want to handle all our social demographics. So I want somebody to help us write a loop for these variables. Who wants to volunteer? Someone? Sorry. We want to write a loop. You see what I typed on the screen? This is the way to get references or to get help. So you usually basically type help, and then you type whatever you want help on. So I wanted somebody to volunteer and tell us how you usually do your loops so that we can learn together. Anyone raising their hand?
I can't see.
You can't see? Okay,
Yeah, I can't see.
done. Or you can't see?
I can't see.
Or you can't see? So you can maybe check out for me, Dan, Loco. You can look up for me that so that we do all this together.
Okay.
Yeah. Then you can actually do this. Replace. Then you can check that for me. Verify whether I've done. Am I doing the correct? Yes.
It should be like for is it for each var in this?
Oh
in
yeah,
the
for each
for each var
in whatever I've defined up there.
Yes.
And then do you have this? Do you have the full colon?
No, you remove the full colon and then introduce curly braces and a curly bracket.
Yeah, this one. Oh, curly, yeah.
Curly.
It's
yeah,
okay.
and then
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that one.
That way, right?
That way will work, yeah.
Yeah, let me see. Invalid syntax where? For var.
Just push the word each to the fore.
Yes.
Oh, this.
For each, yes.
Thank you. For
Again.
each. Try to check local what? It's local.
See, it should just be local.
And then you just give a name.
No, can you say
say local and a name. So I think that should be okay.
Yeah. Pardon? There's somebody who. Oh, look up or should let me look up also. Sorry. I have it here. I didn't want to refer to my, but let me just, as I also tell you, by some of these commands, you also need to create a document so that you don't keep on, is it researching? Yeah. so that once you use it, you can reuse it as many times as you want. Let me get it from my document for loop, sorry. So basically what I don't want us to, for each, yeah, for each, this is my looping over variables. Let me see, or local test, blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, for each v of local test, yeah.
Can you change, Dan, can you change for each var, and instead of in, make it off?
Of local that. And then there's something else I've realized I didn't include Mulusev. I need to also do local J. Don't worry, I'll allow you to include this also, because it's something that you reuse. Yeah, that way. That one will work. Oh yeah. So sorry, I need to explain what I was doing. Then I want to do that. So remember up here, I was working on one variable at a time. Here I worked on age alone. And then here I worked on gender alone, then form. But if whatever I'm doing can actually be replicated across as many variables, I can actually do that for the entire data set. I can do that for the entire data set, but so far I've worked on a number of variables, these ones. So what I did, just to explain, so I first pick all the variables that I want to work on, or that I want to run a command on. So in my case, I want to work on tribe, then tribal classification, county, financial status, home, siblings, all of them. I want to go into each of the variables, and then I replace the value NA with blank instead. I want to replace that with a blank. So the first thing that I need to, I have to define. I want to indicate that I want to work on this by beginning by using the word local, and then I give any name that I want to. This is based on preference. You can even call it X if you want. You can call it X or whatever you want. But in my case, I've called it var loc, or local variable, so that I can refer to it down here. You see here, it's local var, and it's the same. I'm referring to it down here. So I'm telling Stata to go to each of these items inside here, and then do this. Replace, you pick one at a time. So in this case, it will go to tribe, it will pick tribe, and it will have tribe here. And then it will replace the NA in tribe with a blank. Then it will loop to the other one. It will go to tribal classification, then county, financial status. Yeah. So this one is about looping multiple variables. Yeah. So down here, I can either destring, because I've already done away with the string elements in the variables, in these variables actually. I've already done away with the NA, the string variable, so I can destring all of them, or I can still do destring everything in the data set. And it will apply that to any variable that has numerics only. Yeah, change strings to numbers. Yeah. I hope I'm not fast. Yeah. So on my screen, because I didn't want to proceed on so much, I have two do files. So one was I change directory, I import the data, and I save the data. So before saving, I can still do the data cleaning. So one of the things that I can do, I can call that do file for data cleaning here. I can call the data cleaning do file by saying do, and then I call the name, it's called data cleaning. Data cleaning do. Yeah. So if I try to run this, let me see whether it's, or the data cleaning do, it's inside, sorry, do file. Or it's inside do file. Yeah. Because I've saved it inside here. It's inside here. It's this one. So if I try to run, it's always good to have the main window so that you know whether your commands are running well or they are not. Anything that is anything in red tells you that that command did not run successfully. So if, for example, I want to run all these commands inside this do file, I want to run all this. And inside this, I'm also calling another do file, and that do file contains all this. I want to do all this. So what Stata will do, it will change directory, it will import the data, the CSV file, then it will call the do file again, and then I'll save. Eventually, I'll save. Remember, it is systematic. It actually goes step by step. And it's always good to run to see whether your commands are running successfully. Data, let me see. Oh, sorry. If it fails, I don't know why it's failing. Let me do that. Let me give it the complete path. Yeah, so it has actually run. Looking at the result window, you can see what has happened. It first changed directory, then it imported the data. Then after importing the data, it again called the do file, the data cleaning do file, and inside the data cleaning do file, there are a number of commands that were run, including the loop. You can see the loop here, the for each loop, and these changes were made. And then after that, it did the string. It actually tried to change all the strings to numbers. There are those ones that were successful, and others were not successful because they contain non-numeric. You can see this variable called none, all these were not changed, were not replaced because they contain non-numeric. But there are those ones that were changed. Let me see. Non-numeric. Yeah, those ones I expected. Yeah. But this one was replaced, this one was replaced, this one, all these succeeded in replacement. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know, any questions so far? Was I too fast? Let me see people.
No. It's okay.
It's okay.
Yes.
So you can be able to replicate that. Kitufe, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Yes, it's okay. Now
it's okay.
I can replicate this.
Yeah. Then, Dan, I want to invite you, but I don't know whether there is any question. There's a comment I've seen. Oh, you are fast with the looping. Oh,
yes, saying you are running with the looping.
With the looping, yeah. So, you want me to repeat the loops? The loops are so good because they make work easy, because you can imagine if I was to loop all through, if I was to work on each of the variables, it would mean that I have to write two lines for each of them. So I would have extra, like how many lines? 1, 2, 3. They are around how many variables? They are around 10 from here to here, or even 15. So I would be required to actually write 30 extra lines. So loops usually make work easy. We are able to consolidate or to do so many things at the same time by just by doing this. There are 3 things that I want you to note with the loops. First, you need to use this. These are the local is it's a command. It's actually recognized by Stata. It's some of the, is it the preserved words? It is specific. You have to use the word local, and then you have to give a name, whatever name you want to, so that in this case, what you are doing, you are pointing to a specific memory location. So you say local var, and then you provide it with all the variables that you want to work on. Actually, in my case, I told you we can do that for all the variables. So I can actually come, instead of only providing this.
Can you please repeat it here in local var? I think
local
somewhere,
var.
yes.
Yeah. You see local var, this. Local is it's a word that is preserved. It's a directive to Stata. So you actually shouldn't use local. You can't name your variable local unless if you want to use it for your variable, unless you enclose it within. You can actually have a name for your variable, but you have to enclose it within. But still, it's not advisable because it's a preserve for Stata. So you have to say local, then you give a name. You can even call it questionnaire vars. Questionnaire vars. You can give whatever name you want. Like in my case, I can even call them social demographics, whatever name you want to call. So you use local social demographics, and then you provide all the variables that you want. Once you do that, it's always good to have a looping variable, and then you come and say for each var of this, of local, like in my case, I can say local social demographics. Oh, what I'm writing on the screen is tiny. Let me add the font. Is it better now? Let me even add. I'll still add. Oh, it's better now, right? Thank you.
That's okay, Dan.
Yeah. So from here, apart from these 2 words, these others are the names of my variables, and I got that from this. You remember the variable window? That's where I got them from. Let me add the inif. Yeah. Don't worry. Let me. Yeah. Thank you for speaking up. I'll also add the font here to make it visible to you. Yeah. Then allow me to do that, to minimize that. Then I go back to my do file. Under do file, sorry, here I'm basically, let me show you where the loop starts, where the loop begins. The loop begins there, and it actually ends here. Ideally, it ends there. So anytime you are using the for each loop, remember you have to provide the preserved name local, then whatever name you want to assign your variables. And these 2, you repeat them on line number 16. Remember, there are these ones. This one is what we've put here. It's actually the same. It's a replication of the same. So you provide it with all the variables that you want transformed. And then this one is still good. It will help you in looping. It's the looping variable. It will help you to, it will actually keep track of the loops. Yeah, it will actually keep track of the loops. So you'll come and say for each var of this, for each variable or for each item, you can actually indicate item. For each item of this, I want you to run this. So basically what it will be doing, it will be picking the first variable, then it replaces the var and the var with the first variable. Then it will go to the second one. So what other thing that you really need to know, there is this character. You see this character that I've highlighted? It is not the same as this. This one on the keyboard, and it's, what do we call it, by the way? On the keyboard, it's usually before number 1. Based, but I know we have different types of keyboards, but it's not really, it's not the normal quotation mark. This is the normal quotation mark, but this one is called, there is a name that we give. Maybe somebody can get the name for that. Can somebody get the name for me? Let me check. There's a difference between this, there is that, and there is this. They are totally different. What do we call that, Dan? Please get the name for me.
Let me look it up. I don't know the English name.
Yeah, because it is, if you use the normal one, let me show you how the normal one will look like. The normal one is very different. You see the way it has appeared. The normal one is that one, but this one is, you see, it's very different in Stata. Yeah. So note this, then you put this name here, and then you close with the normal one. You close with the normal apostrophe. This one is a normal apostrophe, but this one has a name in Stata. But somebody is going to confirm that for us. Yeah.
It's called,
and then, yes.
acute.
Pardon?
It's called acute. From what I see, it's called acute or back quote.
Oh yeah, the back quote, right? And there's
Yes.
still another name. I think I'll get that for us. Yeah, so the back quote is so different from the normal apostrophe. Yeah, this is actually the apostrophe, the normal one. Yeah, and it's usually next to enter. This one is next to enter, but this one is that sign that is, it's actually before one on my keyboard. Yeah. So remember, that one is special, this one is special. And it is what helps Stata to know that I'm not just using the word var, but var is a pointer. It's actually pointing to these variables that are put up there. Yeah. So that is how the for loop works. And there's so much that you can do with that, because you can still repeat the same for loop. Let me just do it. And you can even do tabulation, and it will give you the results very nicely. So you can tabulate all those. Let me try to tabulate that. And give me the missings. So it's always good to give a different name. So I can as well do that. So what it will do, it will tabulate each separately. You can see my result window. So when you run the for each loop on this, and then what you are basically doing, looking, in this case, I'm doing a different command. Up here, I was doing a replace, but here I am doing a tabulate. You can even export those tables, and you can even do a more complex tabulate, because you may want to do cross tabulation on this based on gender. You can even do gender, for example. You can remove gender from, where is gender? Gender, I think, was worked on separately. Sex, gender. So you can cross tabulate all those variables against gender. No, it won't. Eric, J++ won't generate an error. Yeah. So you see, I've done cross tabulation with gender. So I've run the same loop for all the variables, but in this case, I've done cross tabulation, multivariate. Yeah. Yeah. I hope that's okay. Yeah, so you can see like the Bantus. But remember, the reason we are seeing gender 1, 2, right now we can't, what does 1 mean? What does 2 mean? So that's part of the data preparation that we needed to do. We are still doing data cleaning. So before even looping, because this is in a way doing some analysis, you can say this is analysis, a bit of analysis, although it's univariate. Let me go back and create a different do file, but this one is a do file for analysis, which I should run after doing my data cleaning. Analysis. Then I want to save it as analysis. Yeah. So I can work on this one separately, but under data cleaning will also entail labeling these values. So if I do tab gender, instead of 1 and 2, I need to see males, females, and the like. Yeah, Lemes, I've seen your concern. I'll let you know briefly shortly. So I can go back to gender, confirm whether it's in, yeah, it's numbers, it's valid, but I now need to, let me work on gender. Let me say gender, label define. I want to create gender labels. And then I want to say 1 should be male. But remember, this one, you should not do what I'm doing. You should be guided by a questionnaire or a metadata file that usually tells you 1 means male or 2 means male, because it depends. Maybe the one who programmed the questionnaire gave number 1 to female. So you really need to be keen on the value labels. But in my case, let's work with that assumption. So here, what I've done, I've created a label for gender, and then I want to assign that to the variable. You see variable right now, we are only seeing values, but we want to make sense of the values. So I want to label values, or rather I want to label the gender variable with this. Yeah, I'll explain right now, so that when I tabulate gender, I can actually see 58% of our respondents were males, and then 41% of our respondents were female. Yeah. And I can run. Oh, no problem. Oh, Jira, yeah. No problem, I've seen. Yeah, no problem, Shemsu. We will also share with you the do files. Although we really wanted you to practice as we practice with you. Yeah, yeah, it's okay. So basically, just to repeat, so we've looked through the files and then we've done something else here. We've assigned labels to our variables to make sense, to actually make sense of the values. Yeah.
So then if I can add something.
Yeah, please.
On the labels where you
Yeah.
on row 26, 27, 28.
Yeah.
So perhaps the way you've said you've label defined gender labels, 1 to male, 2 to female, but then when you go to the metadata file or the dictionary and you realize that 1 was female and 2 was male, so what you do is on row 27, you just say label define gender labels, 1 male, 2 female, and then you say comma modify. So every time you change.
Oh, sorry, repeat. Anytime you change, comma.
So like, yeah, comma modify.
Yeah.
Modify. So that when you come back and change 1 to female and 2 to male, Stata will not tell you that you have already defined the gender labels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if you come back and change the 1 to female and 2 to male and run the same code, it will tell you that you have already defined gender labels.
Yeah.
But when you tell it to modify, it will skip that error part. So it will just say it will just run normally without giving you an error.
Wow, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope people are writing notes. They are very important. Some of these tricks might appear simple, but imagine you can land into problem. You're already cleaning your data. Your do files are not running, and simply because you didn't add such an option. These are usually referred to as options. Anything that comes after commas. I think we used that even under here. You can see we had that. When you are loading data, I think we also had that. Let me see. Yeah, these are options, by the way. You can see we had additional options. When you are saving, we said replace whatever. If you had saved another do file or other data set that was called Shamiri baseline, in this time round, replace that old one with this one. That's what we are basically telling Stata. And as you continue to learn, there are so many options. There are so many options that you can use for each of these commands. There are a myriad of options, and they will really help us. Yeah. Yes. I wanted to see whether there is something we can still go through briefly. Yeah. Before even the analysis, we said before the analysis, you really need to, there is so much analysis that you can do, but you can't do if your data is not cleaned. You can't do this. We will send you all this, don't worry. Yeah. And we'll still practice together in the course of this week. Yeah. So something else I've master do file. Let me go back to this. Then you have data cleaning. Remember, let me actually go back to the data browser, and you can see that these ones are yet, they are not cleaned as of yet. So what I want us to do, because I don't want to be the only one doing this, I want to assign somebody to write for us the code for this questionnaire. Has different parts, by the way. If you just try to look at it, I can see there's a section on general anxiety disorder, which is one of the mental health issues. Then there is psychosis section. Then there's this one, there's the optimism. There's actually, it's I think this data set is composed of different tools. Actually, it was administered and they were trying to assess different mental health disorders. Yeah, that's why you can see even our variables, they are named according to the different tools that are standard and they are being used. You can actually look up what general anxiety disorder is, psychosis. We have, and I don't know whether there's someone who has used others among us. I don't know. Yes. What does MSSS mean? Dan, maybe you can also tell us something. I know you've used others.
Yes, Daniel, you're saying?
I'm saying basically what I'm showing us, this data set is composed of it's a combination of tools. And I can recognize this one. There is work we are doing with this kind of tool. We also have another one that's on psychosis. Then basically what I was asking is whether in our audience, does anyone recognize these other tools? Because they are also tools. And they are standard. Most probably they are standard tools that have been tested and validated around the globe. Who knows about
you asked if I've used others. I've used others
yeah.
such as the BDI, the Beck's Depression Inventory.
Yes.
Yeah, there's the BDI, and then the WOCOL brief, that is the World Health, WHO, quality of life. So WOCOL.
Or WOCOL.
Yeah, that is used to measure quality of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I can see PHQ-9 here. That's for depression. And then the generalized anxiety disorder. Yeah, the 7 items. I've used those ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Someone else in our audience who has used any, is there a tool you recognize in this data set? Or do you have another data set? Yes. Yeah. So no problem. So what we are going to, yes?
I can see MSSS here means Modified Social Support Survey.
Or modified, what do we measure with that?
Let me see. MSSS, Modified Social Support Survey.
Yeah, let me actually type that. And it's actually good sometimes to work with sections. MSSS, Modified Social Support
Survey, yes.
Survey. Then we have GAD is general
Anxiety
disorder. Then we have psychosis, PHQ. Psychosis, yeah, PHQ-9. Then GAD-7. Basically, this, for example, GAD-7 is it's actually 7 items. 7 items. This other one is it also refers to 9 items.
How many items is MSSS?
MSSS is let me see.
13.
12. I don't know whether there is a yeah, 12.
Yeah, because it says that MSSS is used to assess social support, emotional support, affective support, and positive support.
Social support, maybe you write that social support, emotional.
Yeah, there's social, emotional, affective, and positive support.
Positive support, yeah. And whatever we are saying is quite important, because remember, the purpose of this session is actually to show us how to analyze how to work with Stata to be able to clean data regarding any mental issue. Yeah, so if you are told to analyze this data set, for example, you won't analyze all the items together. Of course, you'll have sections because even the originators or the ones that collected this data, you may find that they wanted to measure all these items per individual, but the indicators or the analysis that must be done on this, you cannot do them all together. You may find, for example, if you want to measure social support, you will basically use these variables, but in combination with social demographics. The same case applies to issues to do with general anxiety disorder. So you'll have to clean or rather the psychosis section. So you'll use this. You have to clean the PHQ variables together, and then the social demographics, and then you can be able to do analysis on those items. So for example, if I want to do, for example, GAD, I must first work on the GAD questions. We can use even a loop, GAD. So I'll first come and see how they look like. You can either browse, you can see they are not clean. So the first thing you can do our loops. The reason I'm rushing a bit is because right now I know you are conversant. So I'll come, pick by the how do we pick variables? On the variable section, you can type. You can either type or you can go directly to the section you want. In my case, if I want GAD, I can click the first one up to the last one that I want. And then on the left, on the extreme left-hand side, there's an arrow that appears. I click on that, and then that one will basically bring the variables in the command section. So I can pick that, and then I can go to my do file, and then I can replace my variables because I'm working on the GAD ones. I can even name them GAD vars. Yeah, I'm just giving them good, or rather a name that I can easily refer to. The looping one, you can use whichever loop you want. You can even use an M or G so that I assign here a G. And then what I'm basically saying, I want to clean the GAD variables. And this cleaning, sorry, you can even say clean. The first step is to clean the data. You can then do labels, label the variables. And most of the time you realize that for a questionnaire, you won't do that in practice, but it's always good to actually check a questionnaire. If, for example, I look at GAD1, if I tabulate GAD1, you can see that I have value 0 up to 3, and then I have a not applicable. But the not applicable will be sorted out by this first loop. So I'll have 0, 1, 2, 3. So the second thing that I need to do, I need to label define. And then I will say GAD var labels. And then label define that, where I will say one should be this and that. Let me get another command for us, an easier one, for the limit. Yeah, I want to use a command here, sorry, for easy. So what I'm basically doing here, sorry. So I want to say 0 will stand for that, 1, 2, then 3. because basically our variables have they have 4 levels. 4 levels. Don't worry about this. These two, don't worry about them. Let me just do that. So what I'm first doing, I'm defining a label. Define labels. This one should be later, sorry. Let me say that. So I'm defining labels, and I'll use this one for all the guard variables. Don't worry, I'll use that for all the variables. So when I clean the data, the first step is to clean the data. Sorry, let me do that. Then the second one, I define labels, and those labels are going to help us to know 0 means this, 1 means that, 2 means that, 3 means that. Yeah, let me still label somewhere. Sorry, let me get labels. Want to steal some labels somewhere. GAD, yeah, I have GAD and PHQ9 questionnaires. So most of the time 0 means not at all. Let me just label my data. 0 is not at all. Then 1 is several days. Then we have 2 is more than half the days. Then we have 3 is nearly every day. So here what I've basically done, I hope I'm not fast. I feel like I'm running. So what I want to do, I want to go into each of these variables, question 1 to question 7. And instead of me having, let me browse again. Instead of me having 0, 2, 1, 1, 0, I want to be able to say that for GAD 3, it means 0 means not at all. Then the one who has a 1, it means that and that and that. Yeah, so that's the first step. Then I loop again through the same variables, and now assign the label. I want to label to value label. And then I'll use this one, label define GAD labels. Am I fast or I'm slow? Let me see. The data set I received doesn't. Pardon?
You're going at a good pace. You are running a good pace.
Oh, the pace is okay. Oh,
Yes.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I'm using, just to remind us, I'm using a data set called, I'm using Shamiri. Shamiri, this one. Shamiri. Oh, yeah. Oh, Daniel, I've seen. When I get your do file, I'll be able to follow. I will share. I'm basically using how many do files? Can I share the do files that I had worked on? It's the same. The principle is the same. But right now, we are using for loops to make our work easy and also to be able to run through the different analysis. Yeah. So to repeat, I said our questionnaire or our data set has so many sections. And most of the time, you don't want to analyze all the data. Most of the time, you want to first focus on a section And in this, like, for example, what are focused on are just seven variables of the Shamiri baseline data set. It's an open data set. It's available online. So I've picked the data set. However, when you look at the data set, if I run the same command, this is how it looks, by the way. It only has some values and some rows that have not applicable. So the first thing you need to do, you want to do away with the strings in those variables, and then you transform the variables. Sorry, and then you transform the variables into digits, or rather numbers. Then it's only after that that you can be able to apply labels on the. It's only after that, after you clean the variables. By the way, you need to destring. I think you need to destring them. Sorry, I think I had forgotten that. That should be number 3. Number 3 is that. So you need to destring. So you'll come and say destring. You can actually destring everything. By destringing, you are changing the variables from string to numbers. And then after changing that, you will be able to now, you define the label. This one, you only do it once. And the good thing is that all these variables, GAD1 to GAD7, they share the values. However, it's always good to look. And you can look at that using this. You can see that question 1 to question 7, which is the equivalent of GAD1 to GAD7, they are sharing the labels. Let me increase that. Can you see that? Friends, can you see? So this is GAD1, GAD2, GAD3, GAD4. There are 7 items through which we are able to actually, is it to diagnose or to measure generalized anxiety disorder? Yeah. So once we define the label that can be shared across, we can now come and label the variables, all of them together, from GAD1 to GAD7. You loop through them. You can even say M, local M. Then you say you want to label them with that. That's what I want to basically do. So let me come and I want to run all those commands together. I hope they run. We need to test them and see whether they are going to run. Oh yeah, so they've run. So if I try to browse the GAD7, you can see what happens to my data set. You can see my data set. For the first individual, the GAD1, they said not at all. Yeah. But there is one last thing that is very important. Do you really know what GAD1 is? Do you really know what GAD7 is? No, you don't know, because the labels are not correctly done. And how do you do the labels? You just put the right question. And since I have that data, so GAD1 is asking, over the past 2 weeks, how often have you felt nervous? So the first person says that they didn't feel any, not at all. Basically, they were not nervous at all. But the second person, they were nervous several days in that week. They were very nervous. The third person, the fourth person. So you also need to do the correct question labeling. So how do we do that? You can actually come. I'll share this file, don't worry. So the first one was that, the second, the third, the fourth was that. Now I want to do the fifth thing, label variables. The first one was label the values. Actually, this one was label values. We usually have label values and then we have label variables. Label values is this one's inside the data. What does 5 mean? What does 7 mean? That is labeling values. Then this one, you want to label variables. I hope that difference is okay. So the first one is label values. The second one is label variables. So how do we label variables? We just say label variable, and then you have to do it for each. Remember, I'm working on guard 7. So I'll begin with the, I'll begin with the first one. Then I go second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. So I'll begin with the first one. Sorry. Let me show you how I do. I'm basically doing what I do. So label variable. So the first one, what does the first one say? So the first one is how often. So you really have to pick the label for that variable. Then you have to do the same for those others. So you'll have to do that. Sorry for that. Yeah. So that's number one. Then we go to number two. Number two is that. The second question. Then you have to say the third question. Then you have the fourth question. And remember, the reason we are doing this, we are still preparing our data so that when you do analysis, when you do tabulations, people can know what you're analyzing and is it a question and what was the question speaking to? What was the question about? So that's why you have to do all these steps. So let me show you how our raw data looks like. It's this way. It just says guard 7, blah, blah, blah. But then we don't know what guard 1 is. We know it's a variable that is for general anxiety disorder measurement, but we don't know. We've not crammed. We don't know. So we have to do this. We have to label the variables correctly. And now this is what we get. We can now easily see that our first question is asking, how often have you felt nervous, anxious, or on the edge? The other one is also asking about, over the past weeks, how often have you not been able to stop or? So we can now easily make sense of our variables, and you can still tweak them the way you want. Yeah, you can repeat the same procedure. I wanted to remove some space. Yeah. So if it's guard 4, you can easily see it's asking, how often have you had trouble relaxing? So if you tabulate that, if you tabulate guard 4, you should be able to see the question correctly labeled that over the past 2 weeks, how often have you had trouble relaxing? And you can easily see that 44% of the respondents did not have an issue with that. They didn't have trouble relaxing. But we have quite a percentage of people, that 2% or that 3% of them had a problem relaxing. Then more than half, you can always really make sense. You can actually see that by doing data cleaning, you can easily now, you can do analysis easily. Even when you present your findings, things can begin to take shape. Yeah, but we are yet to do analysis. We are still doing what we call data preparation and cleaning. I know I've done, oh, sorry. Yeah. So, hello, people. I didn't intend to take so long. I think today we reach there unless we have a very urgent question that we need to answer. But tomorrow I know we'll have an opportunity to still, today it was like warm up. So tomorrow we can have an opportunity of really going through those few steps. There are not many, but maybe because it's the first day, it may appear that we've covered a bit of steps, but we'll still go through this tomorrow. So we'll still have to import our data, then we clean it, and then we see how we can do analysis. Yeah, I don't know whether we have any question.
Where do we get the do file?
Oh, the
There's
do
someone
file.
asking. There's someone asking about the do file. Yeah.
So for the do files, we'll actually share them. There's a folder that will be shared with you, and then you can actually try and go over what we've done today and make sense of the few commands. I know we didn't do many commands, but remember today we were taking off. Tomorrow, Dan will actually take us deeper into some of the types of analysis. We can still look at GAD7. We have GAD7, which we would like to take you through. Then we also have some other disorders, and we'd like to do that. So the first thing that you can do in your own time, clean the data. Try to clean a few variables so that tomorrow we don't have to go back talking about how to open a do file, how to load data set, so that tomorrow we basically just go into doing analysis, so that tomorrow we can look at we can do an analysis or two, either on general anxiety disorder, or let me see the others that we were proposing. Done. I'm looking at others we can do tomorrow. Types of analysis. Of course, tomorrow we'll still do exploratory data analysis, or EDA. Then we can also do modified social. No, we don't have to do this one.
Hello, Daniel.
Yeah. Can anyone hear him? I can't hear him either.
We lost him, I think. So
Okay.
I think he's trying to close the session, right?
Yes. Actually, was just mentioning some winding up steps.
Okay, perfect. So tomorrow you will start from a few steps of data cleaning, and you will show them exploratory data analysis, right?
Right, yeah. So tomorrow mostly we'll do the practicals. He has done the large part of the theory, but in case of there's any theory inside the practical, we will still learn.
Oh yeah, perfect. So thank you everyone. So let's probably Daniel has a connection problem, maybe. So thank you for your time. Thank you for joining this session. I hope you have learned one or two things. Tomorrow we will continue same time, and I wish you good evening and also good afternoon for West African team. Thank you. Have a good day.
Very much.
Thank you.
We are enjoying.
Thank you.